Now listen, I know it might come to a surprise to you to find out that I am actually not illiterate. I know I just heard so many minds blown right now. But today we're talking about something a little different. You know, books is something I never thought we would talk about on this channel, but I thought today we would talk about what I think is probably one of the biggest scams in the entire world right now. And no, we're not talking about crypto. Crypto is real, man. Buy into my coin right now. It can only go up from here. No, today we're talking about something called self-help books. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard self-help before. Some of the most popular self-help books out there, stuff like Atomic Habits or How to Win Friends and Influence People or something like that. Oh, Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's another one. I actually have that one right here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Rich Dad Poor Dad. Look at that smile right there, eh? How could you say no to that? Oh, it's blurry as fuck. Hold on. Look at that dude. How could you possibly look at him and not listen to his advice? No, actually, the inspiration of this video has to do with me reading a self-help book recently that made me just go, what the hell is this shit? It was called Clear Thinking. I can't even remember the author's name, but the dude looked like he was a college student at best. Luckily, I didn't buy the book. I got it from my local library, but it made me really think about the self-help book genre in general and how some unruly awful shit gets out there, and the only thing they help is the author's bank account. So who would have thought Tibor covering fucking books? Is the world gonna end tomorrow? What's happening here? Okay, anyway, first thing that I wanted to talk about, how vague and general these self-help books are in their advice. Now, don't get me wrong, there are absolutely some books out there that are actually tailored towards specific things. Like, for example, I just read a book called, fuck, I gotta get the title. I'm so bad at remembering book names. It was called Give Me Strength by Alice Living. Living? I don't know. And you know, I read that because I wanted to kind of get some insight on what other people struggle with in this world, because obviously as a dude, I don't struggle with the pressure from social media or media in general to look a certain way. And I was curious if, you know, what the woman experience was. Anyway, getting off topic already, great start. The idea is that books that cater to a very specific topic like that, those books aren't really that bad. I'm more talking about the books like fucking Atomic Habits or Clear Thinking, the one I just read, or the 5 a.m. Club. You know, all those self-help books that are kind of taken by the alpha male community or people like that, motivational gurus, you know, the Instagram lifestylers. All those books that are adopted by those people as fucking Bible, those are the ones you have to watch out for. Now, when I say super general and vague tips, I'm thinking right back to Clear Thinking, the inspiration for this video, and I was like probably 100 pages into the book, and one of the tips he gave was, when you're in a time of need, make sure you think clearly. And that was it. That was his fucking advice. If you're in a time of need, make sure you're thinking clearly. You dumb bitch. No, you know what? I'm gonna think at Mach 10. I am not leaving until my life is entirely ruined by my stupid thinking. And you know, I really tried to like that book. You know, if I read the same thing over and over again, I was like, okay, maybe we're getting somewhere. Maybe this book is going to have some fucking mind-blowing ending somewhere. But we never got there. He literally, for however many chapters, oh, and the shitty part is, sorry, this is a tangent. When he was writing the book, he broke his chapters into sub-chapters, but all the sub-chapters were the same fucking goddamn thing. I was so pissed reading this thing. Like, I was literally on my couch reading it, going, this fucking guy, he's such an asshole. I was so heated reading this goddamn book. But anyway, yeah, his chapters were the exact same thing. Like, every single thing was a repetition. And when he would give advice, it would be just the most general advice you could possibly imagine. Common sense even. Like, he talked about how his time in the Navy led him to having clear thinking abilities or something like that, or being needed to oh my god, I'm having a stroke. Needing to think clearly when he's under pressure. And he's talking about how that is the most essential thing. And then he would give these like personal stories that had absolutely no connection to what he was talking about. It was a fucking bad book, man. But his book isn't really that different from books like Atomic Habits, for example, which I also read. And, you know, There was a great general idea there, and the science behind it was super interesting, but the tips were just super general. And I guess in the sense of creating a book like that, you need to have a general kind of tip because you're writing for the masses here. But the tips fall into such a general category that it's almost common sense. Like, it's fucking ridiculous, man. Now let's talk about my biggest pet peeve when it comes to these books. The time you spend reading them versus the skills you actually get out of them. Now I realize that reading a self-help book, okay, my life isn't gonna be flipped upside down here. Okay, I gotta apply what I learned, but if you're gonna spend the half quarter of the book, what the fuck does that mean? If you're gonna spend the first quarter of the book talking about your life, it better damn well apply to what you're about to teach me. Am I getting so heated that the camera is not focusing? Hello? Oh, there we go. Anyway, as I was saying, the authors to these books just add so much fluff into these fucking things. Like, there are so many of them that are probably 200 pages plus. They don't need to be. They barely need to be 100 pages. And I think that is even stretching it. I think most of these books, the large majority, especially the ones I've read, could just be 5-page blog posts. You know, give the advice in a nice, concise manner. Make it easy to read. Don't fucking make me invest hours into reading your stupid book and let me apply the things I learned. It's that easy. Now, obviously, there's a business to this. You know, authors, bitches gotta get paid. But it pisses me off that I could just waste an hour to potentially even get nothing. Because the investment of your time doesn't even guarantee that you'll get anything of it. Like, I think about the book, The 5 a.m. Club, for example. What the fuck was that book even about? I don't even remember. And I read the fucking thing. Actually, let me go get it. I'm gonna go get it. Alright, this goddamn book right here, The 5 a.m. Club. Okay, here's a great one. The Secret of Morning Genius. Okay, I might take a picture of this and just put it on the screen, to be honest. The Secret of Morning Genius. Transcendent Hypofrontality. So here we go. Entry into the flow state. The prefrontal cortex quiets. Access to genius-level insights. Advanced creativity. World-class performance. That sounds pretty great. A pharmacy of mastery is stimulated in your brain, which supercharges it. Man went to thesaurus.com and got every word he possibly could. He could have shortened that to your brain supercharges. Literally 3 fucking words. Anyway, if that's not a metaphor for all these books, Jesus Christ. Cortisol decreases, dopamine rises, serotonin soars. Brainwaves change from beta to alpha to theta. Solitude, stillness, silence. The 5 a.m. club hour. So what the fuck does any of that mean? And how can you apply that? Just read the next 6 chapters and you'll find out. When in reality, you won't find out. You will probably read this entire book and, like me, get absolutely nothing out of it. And I don't want to just shit on this 5 a.m. club book. This is just an example of the many, many books like this that I've read over the years. But it just pisses me off because it's just such a fucking waste of time to read one of these. And hey, if you get something out of one of these books, all the power to you. If you get something out of the 5 a.m. club, you're on a different level than I am because like I said already tons of times, I've read this thing front to back and it was just, I got nothing. The only thing I got was wasting my life away. God damn, we've been talking for 20 minutes already. What the fuck? Another thing I want to touch on when it comes to these self-help books is that the need to improve never stops. Now, that might sound like a great thing, because obviously, improving all the time is gonna make you a better person and shit. That's great. But when it comes to self-help books, it's a different kind of improvement you feel the urge for, and it's not a good one. So if you kind of get stuck in the self-help rabbit hole, you are reading self-help books for the rest of eternity. Because in the self-help genre, you are never good enough. You know, you might know how to do this thing and live a happy, normal life, but do you know how to biohack your fucking biology and wake up at 4 a.m. every day and put in a 16-hour workday? I don't fucking think so. There's always a book, there's always a biohack, there's a habit, the guide to being rich, something like that. And they take advantage of your insecurities or maybe something that you don't have, and they try and package their book in a way as like a solution to all your problems in life. So again, going back to the example of the 5 a.m. club book, in that book, the author constantly interviews billionaires, unnamed billionaires. And in the interviews, they talk about the importance of waking up at 5 a.m. and how it has helped them succeed. And under that interview, the subtext is basically implying, well, if you wake up at 5 a.m. and you read this entire book and understand what it takes to wake up at 5 a.m., then you'll probably be be a billionaire someday. Maybe. And that's kind of the whole theme with a lot of the self-help books out there, which fucking sucks because I think a lot of people start to read self-help books nonstop and they never actually even apply what they learn from them. Mind you, there are a lot of books that you can't really apply anything, like that 5 a.m. Club book, like that Clear Thinking book. But there are some self-help books out there that are great. And even the people that read those self-help books constantly, reading the book is only the first step. When you get something that you can actually apply to your life from one of those books, the idea is that you apply it, try it out, see how it goes, and then if it works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, then you move on to the next one. That's the whole idea behind those self-help books, and I think a lot of people just do the first step and then repeat over and over again. Now, I want to stress the importance that this does not apply to every self-help book out there. I saw a fucking Reddit post, I know Reddit, cringe, but I saw a post talking about this exact same thing, cause like, when I read the Clear Thinking book, I got pissed and I started to look it up to see if other people were also pissed at self-help books, and sure enough, there were, and someone was talking about how they were pissed off about the self-help industry, and literally someone in the comments with like 200 fucking upvotes was like, well, have you read this book by so-and-so? And it's like, obviously fucking not. You haven't read every self-help book out there. And I'm not claiming to read every self-help book out there ever either. But the majority of them, and especially the majority of the ones that I have read, have led to absolutely nothing. And I think part of the reason for that is because a lot of the people writing these books are people that really don't have professional experience in the field. So a lot of these people aren't psychologists. And again, even if some of the people are psychologists, their books aren't always great. They don't always give great advice. There's one book out there that is called Don't Be No More Mr. Nice Guy or something like that. I read like 2 pages of that book because I thought it was funny. Words can't even describe it. And apparently that dude's a psychologist. But definitely for the self-help books that are super focused, those are generally the real ones that can actually help you do something. Like for example, when raising a child, sometimes you'll read a self-help book on how to raise a child. I'm sure that's a title somewhere, but you get the idea. Something that actually applies to something in your life, rather than just some general how to become a fucking billionaire book. That won't help you. That will. Now again, going back to the book that I mentioned right at the start of this video, The Strength of Living, or I fucking hope that's what it's called. Did I already forget the name again? Give Me Strength. Fuck, I don't know why I can't remember that name. But Give Me Strength is one of those books that's not done by a psychologist, but it's hyper-focused on a niche, and that niche is becoming comfortable with your body and becoming comfortable with everything not being perfect. Her story is interesting, and even though I didn't need the self-help advice, I could still see how it could help somebody. So again, like I've said already, there are definitely outliers out there where the books are actually decent. Now, I think a lot of people actually go into these books expecting it to change their lives, and maybe I'm guilty of that too, going into these books expecting some kind of advice that I could apply to life, but I think a lot of people have that expectation, and you know, when it doesn't get met, they're like, fuck, maybe I'm just a dumbass, and I need to read another one of these books to really understand what I'm reading here, when in reality, that's just not the case. And when these authors are giving the most common sense advice that you can't really apply to your regular everyday life, self-help isn't really a substitute for real things. Did that even make sense? What I'm saying is it's not a substitute for things like therapy. So if you're reading a book on how to be happy, you might just be better off going to therapy. Now, obviously there are expenses you have to deal with and other things like that, but you can't go into a book expecting your entire existence to be flipped on its edge and you to come out a way better person. Now, again, maybe there's outliers to that. Maybe there are some people that have had their entire lives changed for the better by the 5 a.m. Club book or the Clear Thinking book. But for the vast majority of people, statistically, that's not going to be the case. Now, if you want to read the majority of self-help books without actually reading the majority of self-help books, go read any old philosophy book. Now, I'm talking real old philosophy, like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, or literally any other old philosophy book. Because that's what the majority of these current self-help books are based on, or at least the ones that make you think, or try to make you think a certain way. In fact, I've gotten more out of the history book talking about Frederick Douglass's life than I have any other of these self-help books out there. So yeah, the genre isn't all it's chalked up to be. Anyway, this video is gonna do terribly. I just wanted to rant about this because it pissed me off. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys.